Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for another edition of the Free Exchange of Ideas with Donovan and John. We are here to help you out. Now, let's just get to it.
So, welcome back to another edition of the Free Exchange of Ideas with Donovan and John. Today, Donovan is not with us. He had to work. We still don't have enough people to, make this a real job. So we just do it out of the love of the job. Anyway, today I am with Jen and Gwen of AARF, AARF, which is All Animal Rescue and Friends. If you would please, Gwen, how about you introduce yourself first and kind of what you focus on here?
Okay.
And then we'll go with Jen.
Right, so I'm Gwen Dorcich, and I pretty much focus on the puppies and the dogs. But Jen and I work very closely together with all the animals, but that's my main focus.
And now you.
I'm Jenifer Lepow, and I work primarily with the cats on the cat side, and then most of the medical stuff as well. And like Gwen said, we work very closely together, and we collaborate on all of the animals in our rescue. So it's a cooperation
Teamwork.
between the dogs and the cats. And sometimes people adopt both, so we cross over in that way too.
That's
Certainly
fantastic. Now, I know that you almost specifically focus on the cats and the kittens, and you're almost exclusive with puppies and dogs. But do you guys rescue other animals for adoption?
We don't really intake other animals, just because we don't have the foster homes for it or whatever, but we certainly do rescue all animals, like our name suggests. Obviously when there's disasters in the area, or when there's, emergencies, our team definitely steps in and we help evacuate livestock and horses and chickens and you name it, we're there. And then obviously we rescue other small animals and work closely with our wildlife rescuers to get them to the appropriate places. And so yes, in that regard we rescue all animals.
Okay.
But we intake primarily dogs and cats for adoption.
That is fantastic. Now, as I understand it, nobody can just walk in and go, I want that dog or that kitten and go. There's a process to this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you explain that process?
Yeah, if you go to our website, it's all put there as well, but our process is very simple. You do an application, and then depending on if you're applying for a dog or a cat, our dog or cat team will interview you. With the dogs, it's there's a little more because, dogs are in yards, and so there's safety checks for yards and that kind of home check. For the cats, we do a virtual home check, meaning we sort of like have them do FaceTime or something with us so that we can do a security check and safety check. Sometimes when people are bringing in a puppy or a kitten, they don't think about baby-proofing their house, and we help them do that. And then if they're approved, then we move to the last step, which is adoption. And we're very hands-on rescue with adoption. It's not like, here's your new baby, good luck. We do lots of follow-up after, and during the entire process and afterwards too, to make sure that the animals are set up for success in their new homes and that it's truly a forever home.
That's fantastic. My wife and I have actually fostered kittens for these guys, and I can tell you that the process is fantastic start to finish. They really, really pay attention to the animal. There's medical involved. They get all their shots, make sure they're all good and safe.
Spayed and neutered.
Spayed and neutered.
Microchipped?
Oh, that's right,
Microchipped.
microchipped. That's right. Yeah, because I know that you couldn't see this, but they had a couple of kittens over here playing on the ground because they're about there. Anyway,
Right here.
So when I fostered, we fostered. Did we foster 4 or total of 8?
Oh, gosh.
I think we talked.
You've done a couple of
Yeah,
different
the last
ones
one I
with
think
us.
was just
the
the
last
4.
one was 4. Yeah.
And they were tiny, tiny kittens. They had been barn kittens, and so they were rescued. One of the guys had missing his
Right
eye and had kind of a curl to his lip, and we called him Presley because he looked kind of like Elvis Presley. And they all got adopted 2 and 2, right?
Yes,
So
we prefer pairs, yes.
Right, so let's talk about that a little bit. Do we do that with puppies as well, or
No, we don't want to do it with puppies.
you do not?
And there's
No.
a reason why.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is that reason?
Well, they become a pack, so you get, everybody says, oh, you're going to keep the puppies together, they'll be amazing, they'll keep each other company, they'll play with each other, but actually they become a pack, and then they ignore the family, or they ignore the family dog, so they don't bond so well. So we prefer not to, but there are occasions when we have. We've just adopted 2, it's a mother and a daughter, so we did adopt those together because they were very bonded. But normally we don't, but the kittens, it's opposite, and they do very well together. We prefer to.
Yeah, we just saw on the other Facebook page that you have, which is for, pretty much for the adoptees, right? To tell us about the kittens and stuff, and they just said they are absolutely in love with those two.
Yeah.
And I think we saw something for the other two as well.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely, that's another thing. They have two Facebook pages. One
Several,
is
Actually,
Three,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah, lots of, we got a couple of them. We've got our main one, which was you were about to say, which is, the corporate page, where people, the adopters and donors and just general social media. And then we have, which we'll probably get into, a community page that anyone can
Right.
contribute to. And then we've got some sort of, working pages, which is what we call them we've got a page that's just for our fosters and our volunteers, so that when we need things, then we can sort of communicate with our internal team
okay.
quickly. And then we've got the page that you were about to talk about, which is our alumni page.
Alumni, that's
Yeah,
right.
and that's a fun sort of our family page that allows people to interact with other adopters and with fosters. And, for us as fosters, it's the gravy, right? It's the payoff. Because we see them, the animals that we've cared for and fostered, living their best lives in their new homes. And that really sort of, ignites the fire back in the foster to keep doing this, because this is why we do it, to see them living their best lives in their forever homes. So.
Yeah.
And it's a private page.
Yeah.
So people can post their pictures of their kids and not worry about it being shared all over the
Oh,
place.
okay.
So-
I did not realize that.
Yeah,
Although I should have, because I had to.
It's a member-only page
Yeah, I
that
had
we
to
have to
join on.
approve.
Yeah.
And you have to say who you've adopted and all of that. So, people that don't don't really use Facebook very often, they like it because, their friends and family don't see what they post. It's just that internal group.
Right.
And so it's kind of nice.
So how long have you guys together been doing this, AARF?
Nearly
Well,
6 years?
Yeah, we're, as a rescue, as a 501c3, it's been since May of 2016, but obviously she and I have been doing this a lot longer than that. We can kind of talk about the history of how AARF kind of organically came to be in the first place.
I would like that very much.
And, we started out as a street rescue, just sort of a ragtag group of people that ran out when we would see posts on random Facebook pages, there's a loose dog on this street or whatever, and
You guys are still kind of doing that. I
Oh, we
see that.
still do it.
It's actually
Every
even
day.
bigger- It's even bigger now than it was
Yeah.
then, but that's how it started, with just a group of very passionate people that are like, oh gosh, if there's a dog loose, we have to get in our cars and go get him. And so that's kind of how it started, and that's how a lot of us even met. That is how she and I met. And so, that's kind of, we started our own Facebook page that was for lost and found dogs of Morgan Hill. At that time, back in 2014, 2015, there was no animal control in the city of Morgan Hill. It was not part of the police department, there was no animal control officer, there was no shelter services. We had no access to any care for animals in the city of Morgan Hill. And Gilroy had some, some issues too with that. And so it really took just volunteers doing that. And so that is kind of, how that page grew and grew and grew. And then there was the famous dog Houdini, who was loose for several months in this town. And people started posting sightings of that. And the page went from a couple of hundred people to a couple thousand people within a few months. And then that was sort of the, then we started rescuing more and more and more dogs. And then it was like, well, what are we going to do with these animals we're rescuing? And kittens too. We'd rescue a litter of kittens and be like, well, they can't go to the shelter. They can't go, what are we going to do with them? We weren't a rescue at that point. So we're begging other rescues. We're trying to get shelter services for them. Well, there's a group of us that were sitting in front of, city councils every single Wednesday begging for services and budget for it. And so, we just sort of went, let's start our own rescue so that we can adopt out these animals too. And so that process takes a while
Yeah,
to become a 501c3. It
Took
becomes a while.
year and a
Yeah,
half?
between all the filings and things. And
Right.
so finally in May of 2016 it became official, so.
Can we talk about that process a little bit? Because I understand that could be very complicated.
Yeah, it is
and
complicated.
it's not cheap.
No, it's not inexpensive for sure.
No, but we did it the cheapest way. If you go to an attorney and have them do it, they'll do everything, but we were doing everything ourselves. We were, and that became a little complicated at times.
Yeah, because,
but,
we'd never done anything like that before, so we were sort of teaching ourselves as we went and got some cheaty books and
Oh, yeah.
trying to figure it out and use some online legal services. Looking back, we probably could have done it a lot more efficiently if we just hire somebody, but at the time, we weren't a rescue yet, and it was our own money that we're all putting in to start this thing. And yeah, you have to file, and then, oh, we didn't do that right, so you have to refile this, and, you know, and then you get your name from the Secretary of State of California gives you your name, makes it official, and then you're sort of a nonprofit, but you're not a 501c3 recognized through the IRS until you've done that filing, and that's actually what's super complicated, because you have to have established your board, you have to have all of your paperwork appropriate and send off, and then you wait and hope that they deem you worthy of that status. And so we didn't, then we went through with flying colors at that point, but yeah, it took,
So
it
it's
took
a
us while.
process,
It's
definitely
definitely a
a
process.
process.
So it's not just a straightforward, I filed my 501c3 paperwork and it's all good, and so I'm good to go.
There was a lot of follow-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of
But
back
they,
and forth.
I mean, the state in essence can say, no,
Yeah, the
for
state
no
can,
reason.
yeah, the state can definitely turn you down.
But
if
it's
they
a
don't-
relief when it's done because we get so many benefits. Now we're
Yes.
501c3, we get a lot of benefits, so it makes this easy to pull from certain shelters, because that's the first thing they'll say is, are you a 501c3?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
it
not-
legitimizes your activity.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that
okay.
way you're not just a random rescuer that's trying to pull an animal from a facility. They've got their own laws and regulations they have to follow, so they can really only give animals to 501c3s, because there's partnership agreements with rescues and with shelters that
Oh, okay.
we swear that we will spay neuter them, we swear that we will take care of them, we will get them all the medical they need, we will find appropriate homes for them, because otherwise they're just releasing them and not knowing what happens. So those agreements are in place, and they really only make them with legitimate rescues. And so that legitimizes you. When you've got that classification, it legitimizes your activity.
Okay.
And you're able to fundraise, you're able to do things that you wouldn't normally get to do before you have that.
Okay, how is your fundraising going so far?
It's good, you know, we don't run a lot of active fundraisers. We don't ask the community for money very often. And people ask us that, why don't you do big fundraisers? Why don't you have events? Why don't you have this? In short answer, we're super busy rescuing 365 days a year, and no lie. We don't have time to do that stuff. But what we really love about this community is, I think our work speaks for itself, because anytime we have a need and we say, we've got this dog that's got seizures and we need to fundraise for his expensive care, the community literally just rises up and helps us with that, and
Yeah, I
that
see.
makes it so that we can
Yeah.
afford it. So we don't ever have to go, we can't take that dog, we can't afford it, because we know our community's gonna step up for us. And maybe it's because we aren't asking all the time,
Yeah.
and they know that when we're asking, it's because we really need it.
Do you have any, like handshake agreements with local vets that can help you out, or can?
It's not really handshake agreements, it's some vets will give us a rescue discount on some of the medical services. It's small, they're running a business too, so they
Sure.
have to make their money. So, but every little bit helps, and then, you know, we definitely have established relationships with certain vets.
That's more important, I think,
Yes,
isn't it?
and that's really a critical piece for us, because, you know, they'll fit us in, they know we're serious, we're not wasting their time, we're gonna bring them a critical case or something that we have to have services, we're not gonna come in there. We do a lot of stuff ourselves,
Oh,
all the
yeah.
vaccinations, all the deworming, anything we can do ourselves, we do. One, it saves money for the rescue, so our donor dollars are put to good use, they're not wasted on things that we can do ourselves.
Right.
And two, it makes it so that when we are with one of the vets, it's because we need their expertise, not because we need deworming, you know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah, we definitely try to do as much as we can on our own, and then, you know, our vets appreciate that we sort of respect their time too, and.
It's a big thing.
Yeah, it is a big thing,
I mean,
because they
spend
don't have a
to
lot of
get
time.
there
Yeah,
and own a business. It's not
and they're
an easy
so
thing.
busy right now, especially during this pandemic, it seems like vets have been busier than ever.
And they can't get staff.
Yeah, and they can't get staff, and so
Yeah.
it's, I mean, anyone, even outside of rescue would say, it's difficult to get appointments, it's weeks and weeks and weeks before you can see someone.
We had to take Roxy up to San Jose, to the one on Santa Teresa, and it was right in the middle of the pandemic, so it's just park outside and wait for somebody to come
Yeah.
to you.
Right.
And all the regular
and
vets
then-
were like that too, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just like, I mean, I was appreciative of the ability of them to, remain open during this, and maintain most of their staff, I think.
Yeah.
And set the parking lot up to do all this. They really went above and beyond. I think they did a great job. I was really happy with the way they treated my dog and me.
Yeah.
Right.
But we've had to go to emergency a couple of times with some of our pets, and they couldn't see them. They didn't have enough doctors. Our last
Oh.
litter of parvo puppies,
Yeah.
which we call the Brights litter now that they're recovered, but at the time, litter of, 6 parvo puppies, and they couldn't intake them.
And we're
They
sitting
could
in
not
the
help us.
car,
We're in
and
the
they
car
are,
in the parking lot, and they
yeah.
couldn't help us.
but they
So
did stabilize.
They stabilized them and they checked them all for us and got them, but they didn't have enough staff or doctors to care for dogs that were that sick. Those are very sick dogs when they have parvo. And so we scrambled and Sage was able to get us in, but that was one of the first times where you're literally sitting in front of a 24/7 emergency clinic and they're like, we can't help you.
Yeah.
We don't have
What
the
do you
staff.
call them now?
They're
The Brights
The
litter.
Brights litter.
The Brights litter?
Yeah, because they all have bright names. We saw, well,
Oh,
the first
Shimmer and
the
glimmer.
first puppy that we took in was Sparky. He actually got brought into a med vet up in East Bay, and then the rest of the litter got brought down to us, and then of course we had to scramble. But so we had one puppy there, and then the other 5 here, and Sparky got that first name because the girl had said, I see a spark of hope with this guy. I see there's a spark of life in him. He's worth sort of rescuing, and so then the rest of the 5 kind of got sparkish names too, like Twinkle and Shimmer and
Glimmer
and Flash and things like that. So they're now the Brights litter.
Oh, that's awesome. And are they still in your care, or?
Yeah, they're parvo free, so we've had a couple of health checks, wanted to be and they're just starting to meet families now. So that's,
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, they're super sweet, and but there's a lot of them, and they're all like, I had them at my house the other day for a play date, and with Tiger, Jenifer's foster, and it was crazy, but they're lovely, lovely puppies, and as I say, we're starting to do meet and greets and,
That's fantastic.
follow the process.
So, this space is almost exclusively for kittens. This is a storefront that's been donated to them for a short period. It's going to end at this month. At the end of this month, unfortunately, the owner of the space has leased it out. So, looking for new space if you know anything.
Yep, please
Yeah.
do.
Absolutely.
But you focusing with the dogs, the cat and the puppies. You said you don't really bring them here, but you go out to like parks and yards.
Well, I am lucky enough to have a large property, so, which is semi-safe, it's a little jerry-rigged for the little puppies, and then we've got big dogs, but it's easier to come to a neutral spot. A lot of people, especially through COVID, haven't wanted people going into their homes.
Right.
So I just offer up my home, and we do all the meet and greets at my house. But we also do home checks for the puppies and the dogs. So if they're local, sometimes we'll take a puppy over to their home if we're meeting. But usually it's at my property.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. I just think it's amazing. One, what you all have done just over the last 6 years, 5-6 years. It's in my experience with just fostering, 4 to 6 kittens. I think the biggest we had was like 2 litters of 4, and we actually, because of that, we actually went out and bought a ferret pen, 2-story ferret pen.
Kitty condo kind
Yeah.
of setup.
So that we could separate them.
Yeah.
But that was the love that you get back from them. Always for me is I can't hang on to them very long.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've
Yeah.
had
It's hard.
Three
It's hard
failures?
fostering.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I think I've had 3 failures.
I think every
What they
foster-
call failure.
That's what it's called, when you keep them instead of adopting them out. It's a foster failure, but it's not a fail, obviously. It's, you love them so much that you can't part with them. And I think
Yeah.
every foster goes through that sort of separation that happens.
Presley was this
But
close.
if you don't do it, I mean, the thing is, we try to encourage fosters with this all the time, is the more you keep, the less you can save. So we really do encourage our fosters. We love it when our fosters adopt, but we encourage them to choose wisely, because it does keep you from being able to foster.
Oh yeah.
And, when we've got some very active families that are constantly fostering, when they sort of even hint around the foster fail, we're like, oh God, no, because we need them to save more lives, and so.
Or we
said-
make a deal with
Yeah, we
them and
make a
say,
deal.
you still got to foster. We
Yes.
have one foster. She has 2 little boys, her husband, 2 little boys, and they've fostered over 45 puppies.
Oh, wow.
Most of them have
Not
been
at the same time.
not at the same time.
Well, yeah,
Over the last 5 years, and she is a little pitty lover. She loves the pits, the little pit bulls, and she keeps saying, "Oh gosh, I love this one. I love this one." And it's funny because she's actually adopted out quite a few of them in the neighborhood because she has a community park.
Oh,
Excuse
nice.
me. And so she still gets to see a lot of them. And she did foster fail with the last litter. Monica, yeah,
Friends
the
litter.
Friends litter.
Yeah.
And she actually had all of them. So were there 6? I think there was 6.
Yeah,
So
I
she
think
had
so.
all 6. And then we split them up into different foster homes. And she just could not let Monica go.
She actually admitted to me last night that she purposely named, Monica's her favorite character of the show, and she had named those puppies, and so she had purposely named her Monica with the hopes that she might her. So she's like, don't tell my husband, but that was my plan all along, so.
But she's still fostering.
Yeah, she is still fostering.
So let's go back a little bit to the business side. You two started this. How many people are on your board?
We just have 3. We have the minimum. It works well for us. You know, Gwen and I work very well together, agree 99.9% of the time, and we have the same sort of values and mission and vision for what we want this rescue to be. And
Okay.
it's like a well-oiled machine. And sometimes you have too many chiefs, you know, then
Not enough
it's
Indians.
then it's just not. It's too many cooks in the kitchen is not good. So this is a good team right here, and we sort of keep it at that way. And then we have a huge group of volunteers and people that are super dedicated to helping us be successful, because we could never do it by ourselves.
Yeah.
Sure.
The 2 of us could, I mean, we're obviously running the business side of things, but the work is from our fosters and our volunteers, and I mean, just the community too. I mean, like we started to talk about with the lost and found animals. I mean, there's so many people in the community that don't hesitate to just jump on board and help us round up animals.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because I not only do I follow your pages, I also follow Gilroy Neighborhood and a couple other neighborhood pages, and I'll see, oh hey, my dog is lost, or I spotted this dog running down the street, and then there'll be a bunch of tags
Oh yeah, we're
of,
tagged daily.
of their group.
Yeah, it's our
We're
group.
talking like 30, 35 tags, and I see you a lot, I see you a lot.
Well, what the community doesn't see is after that happens, or even before some of that happens, we already know about it. It's either been posted to our page too, or someone we know, because we're pretty well known in the community now, will have sent us a private message.
Oh,
And we
okay,
have an
so-
internal
We're already on
private
it.
thread, we're already on it, which is sometimes someone will tag us and we're like, we're already en route. And because we've got an internal thread too, that of all of our sort of rescuers too, so we can immobilize quickly. So,
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of behind the scenes things the community doesn't even see, that we're constantly networking and moving pieces around because
Sure.
you have to be quick. When an animal is running in the highway or, dodging through cars, there's not hours to tag each other and, figure out who's gonna go save an animal. You have to just hop in your car and get there.
right. Now, I want to talk about somebody specifically, Karen, because she helped us rescue an animal that had ended up on our property, and then she was able to take care of that animal. But she's also tied to work, which is wild.
So are you talking about Karen Clements?
Yes.
Yes.
She's actually not tied to work. She is an independent wildlife
Oh, okay.
rescuer. Obviously, she works in conjunction with some of the work ladies, but she primarily actually takes animals to the wildlife center up in Silicon Valley, like
Yeah,
next
she had
to
mentioned
wildlife, the Silicon, what is it, the Humane Society of
yeah.
Silicon Valley.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a building that's right next door, and that's primarily where she takes animals. And people think she's with work just because that's what's out here. But yeah, Karen is fantastic. She's definitely one that gets tagged as soon as there's a wildlife, emergency.
But we have about 4 or 5
Yeah, there's several.
Shoshana and.
Yeah,
we have
there's a
yeah.
handful of them
Yeah.
that we sort of tag quickly when it's a wildlife thing, because wildlife has to be handled differently. And there
Yeah.
actually are some laws around, you can't just go and pick up a raccoon.
That
There's
wouldn't
some
be
laws,
right.
it's not a good idea in case they have rabies or whatever, so.
They're just
yeah.
nasty little animals. I know there's a lot of
They're
people out there that
nice.
like
Come on
raccoons,
now,
but
now, we
love
love them.
But when they're injured, you don't wanna,
Well,
you don't wanna someone who's a novice to run over and try to pick them up.
I've lost a rabbit and a guinea hen to a raccoon, so
Yeah,
not super happy.
they gotta eat too.
They are cute. No, but they don't like
I know.
we got all these berries around.
Yeah.
That's what they're for.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Be vegetarians like us.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, that's not ever gonna happen. So, what did you do today?
What did I do today? Oh, I cleared some room to put this stuff. So I was clearing.
Since we're losing this room
Yeah, because
soon.
we're moving, we gotta move it somewhere, so I was clearing some space.
But you also did some virtual meet and greets and.
Yeah, I did.
Phone screens.
Yeah, I did some phone screening, went through some applications, prepared an adoption packet for one of our dogs tomorrow, one of the puppies. So Peppermint gets adopted tomorrow. So, yeah, there's always, seriously, it's every day, all day. My husband sometimes says, what are you doing today? And I'm like, well, you know.
Consuming it. It's,
Yeah.
What's
every day.
What does a typical, or I should say, when does a typical day start for you guys?
Oh, the moment we get up.
The moment I
We
open my
meet-
eyes, I grab my phone and there's already messages.
Yeah, we're
Already.
tagged constantly. I had a text this morning from one of the rescuers in Hollister wanting me to take a dog. We have 33 puppies and dogs right now, and that is a lot for the puppies and dogs.
Yeah.
This is pretty much, there's a lot to do. And I've just lost my volunteer. She's got a full-time job, so she was pretty much like a personal assistant to me. So, oh well, back to
How about
doing
you?
it.
What did I do today, or what is my typical? Yeah, well, I was on the phone with vets a lot today because we took in little Betty, the little kitten with the broken back leg.
Oh.
And so there was a lot of vet conversations this morning about next steps for her. And then, kind of bouncing back to how we really work with the families on adoption. We adopted out 2 kittens a couple of weeks ago that are still pretty scared in their new home, and so I went over to the adopter's home and sort of helped do some intro, help kind of, because they got adopted, I was sick when they got adopted, I didn't have a hand in that, and that was like the first time that I didn't introduce my own foster kittens to their new family, and we're thinking that had something to do with them being still scared and not acclimating well. So I went over and spent some time with that family and really helped the girls kind of come out of their, get past their fear, and it was successful. It was
Yeah,
good.
you said it went great.
Yeah, it went really good,
really
and
well.
so that's, part of who we are too, like we want all of our adoptions to be successful, and we want our kittens to be happy, and our puppies and dogs and cats to be happy in their new homes, and we want our adopters to be happy with who they've chosen, and so we definitely go the extra mile to make it work, even post-adoption, to make it work. So did that for a little bit today, and yeah.
That's cool. So, I'm sorry, the train went through the tunnel and I lost it. What is the plan, or is this pretty much the end of the plan? You're trying to grasp it?
Well,
what are you gonna find?
we're gonna put some stuff in storage while we sort of regroup and think about what we want to do next. Having a space like this obviously we had this donated to us for 3 months, but to have something like this long term would be too cost prohibitive. Being in a shopping center with foot traffic and stuff, that costs a lot of money, and that's not a wise use of our donor dollars.
Sure.
We want to use our donor dollars towards medical and saving lives. So we really have to sort of rethink what we want. The rescue has grown, however, and we do need more space, and we do need some office. I mean, we run this rescue from our kitchens, so we definitely need to think about what we need going forward, maybe a little bit of office space and a little bit more storage, and so that she's not having to put everything in her garage, So just little things, so we have to rethink what we want, but most importantly is because we had 80 kittens at the beginning of November. That is unheard of for late fall, having that many kittens still in rescue. And, with the pandemic and sort of, you could take your kittens to pet stores, but then they're in cages, no one can interact with them. This was a great opportunity for our kittens to get adopted. And, we had 80 kittens at the beginning of November, and now we have 35. That means we have done so many adoptions in just a short period of time, and that's because of this room. Because people were able to come in and interact with them and play with them, where they are. They're not in cages. This is the closest thing to their foster homes without people actually coming into our foster homes. And, some people just come here to play with the kittens, and that's fine if they're not adopting, because the kittens need to be socialized.
Right.
And they need to meet, maybe their foster home doesn't have small kids, so this might be the first time they get to meet small kids, or, it's been a fantastic opportunity, and, we rescue about 300 to 400 kittens a year in our rescue. We have to have a way to get them adopted.
Right.
And so that is a priority for us as we look about where we want to go next. We need some adoption space for these kittens.
Yeah, I found
Otherwise,
the train, by the way.
Huh?
I found the train, by the way.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
So how big is your reach? I mean, I know you guys are basically starting in Morgan Hill, but how far is your reach?
It's pretty far. I mean, South County.
South County and beyond, we always
Yeah.
say is our little,
Yeah.
snippet, because, we're really, really trying to help some of the, Central Valley shelters.
Mm.
They're high kill.
I was gonna say, they're not no-kill, they don't have a no-kill shelter out
Well,
there, do they?
no, so what it is they tend to, they just get full, and so they have to euthanize for,
Space.
the space.
Yeah.
They've got 12 kennels, they got 15 dogs, what do? And we have amazing people in the community, from here to Stockton to all over the place, that pretty much advocate for these shelters.
Every single day.
And
Going in,
every
taking
day.
Pictures,
Every
getting
day.
information
Oh,
for rescues.
it actually is heartbreaking. It's something has to be done, because there are, every day, you stop looking at some of the kitten and cat sites.
Yeah, when we filled
because-
up and we got to the point where we couldn't take
Oh.
even one more kitten in, I had to turn off some of those sites out of my feed, because
I can imagine.
you get compassion fatigue too. Like,
Sure.
you know that you could actually go and save those kittens, but at what point does it end? I can't save them all, so I had to kind of just turn away for a little bit while I just got the kittens in our care taken care of, and then,
And we're getting a lot of owner surrenders, but sometimes we're looking at the owner surrenders as not as urgent as because they are still in homes.
Right.
at least they're safe.
They're safe, whereas the ones in the shelter, they have 24 hours. They have until 5 o'clock tomorrow night.
Right.
And no one advocating for them.
So-
Even with all the people advocating, not every single animal gets attention. I mean, there's cages and cages and cages and cages of cats. And of course, people will take all the kittens. But what about the 5-year-old cat? Or what about the 12-year-old cat? Or what about the cat with the missing eye? Or is acting feral in the back of the cage, but it's just because they're scared and need that chance. They don't get that chance. They get 24 hours.
Yeah. So are you looking to, let's just kind of look at space, this kind of space. Are you looking to stay in Morgan Hill? Does it,
Yeah.
Oh,
or
yeah.
San Martin, you're gonna stay here?
Yeah, Morgan Hill, it's a lot of our fosters and volunteers are here in Morgan Hill. It is a good sort of base for us. Obviously,
can reach
anywhere
up
in
to San
South
Jose
County.
or down this
Yeah,
way.
it is the most convenient as far as where we sit in South County. So ideally, we would like to stay in Morgan Hill, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any larger sponsors, say like a Safeway or
This guy next door?
no, I was thinking of the store, the tractor supply store.
No, we
No.
don't have any corporate sponsors.
No.
Is there
Nothing.
a reason for that, or,
Probably just because we
I-
haven't solicited it.
okay,
Yeah, like I said, in the same way that we don't constantly ask for fundraising, we also just haven't really had the bandwidth or that's not really our expertise either. We're rescuers, we're saving little lives every day, and it's just sort of, yes, it's a necessary thing that we need to do, but we don't really we haven't had the time to go out and solicit that. I wish we had more staff to do some of those things for us and to help us with that, but
okay. Well, that's up to
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
You guys
we wish
can
we
help
had
with this.
somebody with
Yeah,
that
wish.
expertise. Somebody that, has
Yeah.
connections and,
Or is actually just willing to go talk to those
yeah,
folks.
exactly,
Yeah.
that's willing to go and ask for that and, sell them on the idea of supporting this cause, because we definitely help animals all through this community, and
Right, and I know it's tough to talk to a corporate store, say like a Safeway
Yeah.
or a Tractor Supply, because they don't always have that freedom
yeah, they don't.
to do that. They have to go back through their corporate, or you have to go to their corporate
Yeah.
office, email or
Yeah.
phone. You don't have to actually physically go
There's
there.
a lot of red tape with the
Yeah.
big corporations,
But there are
for
also
sure.
grants available, and a lot of companies will do grants, but then you need a grant writer. and it's not as easy. You know, we've tried to do a few ourselves, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm sure we've done fairly well, but you know, it might just be, you know, for 1,000 or something like that, so it's not, you
Which
know.
is gone in what, 2-3 days?
Oh,
Yeah, maybe
one night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe one, yeah.
One night in emergency care is $1,000,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
pretty much, you know.
Yeah, but when we got the last bill for Roxy, my wife's all like, I don't know if we can do this again. I mean, we're just, I don't make a ton of money, anything you can do will help.
Yeah.
I don't do that either. I don't ask for, I don't have a 501c3, I'm not even a business outright, so I can't really ask for donations that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that that's why we have someone or surrender sometimes, is they reach that place where they can't afford, you know, if they've got a dog with chronic seizures, and
That's what happened with our
Yeah.
recent intake.
I mean, they love their dog, but they can't afford that long-term care or that lifetime of care that's coming.
Yeah.
And so they have to make that difficult decision to let them go to a rescue.
You know, and that's like
It's hard.
I'm gonna be honest with you, that's like my pet peeve. When somebody says, hey, I'm at this place and I have to give up my animal that I've had for 10, 12, 15 years, and somebody gets on and just goes, if you can't take care of the animal, you shouldn't have got it. It's
Yeah.
like, I just wanna reach out and punch him. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
It's-
no, we agree. I mean, obviously, it's disappointing when people have to, you know, make that choice. But you don't know someone's circumstance unless you're walking
Yeah.
in their shoes, and everybody has different reasons why they have to let their animals go. You don't know if somebody has, you know, just found out their spouse has cancer, or
Right.
that their child, you know, is having some difficulties or something, and that's a financial strain on the family that, who's can sit in
Yeah.
judgment of that?
Yeah.
So, you
You know,
know.
the funny thing is, I actually lost a day on Facebook because I was telling somebody,
So you got
Oh,
Facebook jail.
Facebook jail.
yeah, and actually, they banned me for a day, but in my response, I copied the whole thing and pasted it into my response and said, this is what was happening. Because evidently she had said something to Facebook or
Right.
flagged me or whatever.
Gotcha.
And they didn't do any research to say, oh, you're done.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. And yeah, so I was actually like in jail for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, maybe I was a little stiff, but that really truly irks me, because as much as I love animals, it would kill me to lose one of my animals because I couldn't afford to give them care, or I had to move because I lost my home or whatever.
We really try and be empathetic with, and we also try and educate, and we also try and come
Help
up
them,
with maybe
yeah.
a solution.
Right.
Right.
Because sometimes there is a solution. It's like when, you know, dogs get out all the time. Some people want to say, oh, your dog's always out, repeat. And we see a lot of repeat offenders.
Sure.
But sometimes
Houdini.
and sometimes they just need some help. Maybe, you know, help in the backyard to fix something. It's a little old lady and she can't fix her fence. So
Right.
we really try and help. We've got such amazing community members that will go out and help with simple things like that.
And that's something I think we miss. When I was a kid, I knew 15 people out of the 20 houses on my street.
Right.
And people on the next block and the block down the other way. We don't,
Help each other anymore.
well, we don't really have that connection anymore. I really don't understand. I know my neighbor across the street now, and, well, the 3 neighbors across the street. But I live in kind of a stretched out neighborhood. There's only 8 houses on my quarter-mile long street. And, but I know the people that are right next to me and the people behind me that you know, Aaron and Jason. Wow, that was gonna be bad. But that's really all I know in my neighborhood. And then, of course, I work 50 miles away from my home, so I'm on the freeway at, you know, ungodly dark hour in the morning, and then I don't get home until 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody else is in their homes at that time.
Human kindness goes a long way. We've got to help our neighbors, we've got to help, you know, people when we see something and see
And
something,
that's
say something.
Part of what we encourage people to do, that's kind of the other
Part of our rescue.
is that we really encourage people to, like, if you see something, do something about it. Say something, let us know, get out of your house, get off of Facebook, and go help an animal. There's way more productive ways
Okay,
to,
yeah.
to give back to your community, and to, that really sort of, you know, believe us, as rescuers, we see the worst of the worst in human, and the way that they act, and that, you know, not every
Treat their
human
animals.
is worth some sympathy, believe me, we see some terrible things. But, you know, for the
Majority,
most part,
for the most
you know,
part.
people, they did care about their animal at some point, and most of the owner surrenders we take on, you know, it's, once we hear the story, we understand, and we wanna help them, you know,
Yeah.
get a new start for their animal. That's kinda, it's in our tagline, healing hearts, fresh starts, like, all right, let's just start over and get you a new life, because, you know, it happens.
It does happen.
Yeah. I want to thank you ladies so much, one, for sitting down with me and trusting me to do this. That's a big thing. A lot of people don't want to do this because they don't, it's not about trusting me, it's about trusting you all, and I trust you all. But I really, thank you so much for sitting with me. I do really appreciate that.
Thank you for
Thank
taking
you.
the time to talk with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
Like I said, I'm going to work with a couple of people that I know. One of them writes grants. That's what he does.
Oh, perfect.
He actually enjoys that.
I know.
He's one of those, I like to just sit in my box and write stuff. He's a really, really nice guy. And I might have a couple of people I can talk to about maybe getting some corporate donations, just so we can kind of move on. And
Yeah.
anything that y'all can do. Give me your website one more time.
It's www.aarflove.org.
And you have is the donation part on that site?
Yeah, on the website
Yeah.
is everything, including a donation portal for
Okay.
PayPal and for Venmo. And
Oh,
so,
fantastic.
yeah, anyone can donate.
Okay, and we're gonna, what I'll do is I'll copy that page and put it in the video so that you can see it right away, and I'll put a link down in the description box. I took a picture of your front door as I was coming in, because I really wanted to have that as we lead into this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a picture of these two guys. Where'd you go?
Marigold and Bob.
Right
Yeah.
there.
They're up for adoption. They are a duo. They're not brother and sister, but they've grown up in foster care together, and they're the best of pals. They got similar energy, and they really love each other. They were rescued around Halloween time.
Yeah, they're very sweet.
Bob. And Bob we're not sure if he's a Manx or if he, and was born that way, or if he lost it before we rescued him, because he was about 4 weeks old when he came to us.
How old are they now?
They're about 5.5-ish months, almost
Oh,
6
okay.
months old, yeah.
So, still teenagers?
Oh yeah, that's considered a kitten still, and what's great about adopting kittens like this at this age is that you really know their personality now. They've been in foster care long enough, we know exactly who they are, and so there's no mystery. When you adopt 2-month-old kittens, you know,
Yeah.
You don't know
you're not
what
sure
you're gonna
what
get.
they're gonna, it's like.
Same
you
with
know,
puppies. You have no idea what
and
you're
they've
gonna get.
outgrown some of the, you know, running up your curtains and all that wild kitten behavior, but they're still playful and of course still kittens, so.
That was Presley's thing. He would run up my leg, run up my chest, and hide in my beard. I don't know
Definitely
why,
a cutie
but that's
pie.
what he loved. Again, thank you so much for sitting with me.
Thank you for having
Uh,
us.
I had a great time. I hope you guys did as well.
Yeah, we
And
did.
I hope that we can bring some relief to you guys financially, and some more help for more kittens.
Yeah.
Because 80 in 1 month is a crazy number, and I know it's not done yet.
Yeah. It's never done, actually.
Well, no, but I think.
March.
Kitten season is
Gonna
right around the corner, 6-8
Right.
weeks
Yeah.
away, we're gonna have new we did our first intake for 2022, our first kitten intake, and that took everything in me to go 17 days before I rescued a kitten this year.
Oh, wow.
Because they were already showing up in shelters, and it took, because we had so many still from last year, I resisted as long as I could. And then
But
I
it was
saw-
a medical
And then I
case.
saw little Betty, and, you know, medical is one of our specialties, and so, you know, that one was hard to not.
And it was
That
on
one
the
hard to turn
17th.
around. It was on the 17th, it was Betty White's birthday, you know.
Ah,
In honor
okay.
of Betty, we rescued little baby Betty, so,
That's awesome.
yeah.
All right, so don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Go to their page, help them out if you can. As I say when I do my push-ups, donate, do the push-ups with us, because that helps bring eyes to that thing. Or volunteer. Volunteer costs you nothing except
It's
time,
rewarding.
and it's rewarding. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Donovan, and John's here with us today. Thank you for joining us for the free exchange of ideas, and we'll see you next time on the next show.